I want to become a doctor in the future. I love studying, and I want to study hard so that I can make my parents proud. But now they have destroyed my school, and I can't go there. At this, she started to cry. What will you like to say to the government of Pakistan? The reporter asked. I request them to stop these people so I can study for the country. And this report was being seen by almost 5 million people of Pakistan, including Taliban. And they said of her, how dare you say this on television, and we'll have to do something about this. So this is part of her early life when she was 7 years old. And as I'm going to continue back further here in the Wikipedia article about what she was involved in, she also got involved with a BBC blogger named Amir Ahmed Khan of the BBC Urdu website, and they discussed a novel way of covering the Taliban's growing influence in Swat, which is in the Swat Valley there. And they had this idea that they'd like to have a girl blog about her experiences in the Swat Valley and not being able to attend school. They couldn't find anybody to do it. So her father suggested his own daughter, 11-year-old Malala. So at 7, she gives this TV interview, and now she's 11, and she is starting to blog about the mistreatment of women and girls in the Swat Valley. And at the time, Taliban militants led by Manullah Fazullah were taking over the Swat Valley, banned television, music, girls' education, and women from going shopping. Bodies of beheaded policemen were being hung in town squares. And so she said she would agree to write the diary. And that's what they did, but they put it under a pseudonym, so when she published it, it was under Gul Makai, which meant cornflower in Urdu, and that's how she published it. And the way she published it was she wrote it on little strips of paper that were kind of smuggled out, and then passed a reporter who scanned them and emailed them, and the blog records were then posted, and of course the Taliban did not like this. And then again, they had blown up hundreds of schools. The story goes on in this article. And again, they were banned from school. Not only were they blowing up the schools, they were banning them. So getting on down to her activism and what she did. So she was in a documentary that was made about her on the station AVT Khyber, the Urdu language Aj Daily, and Canada's Toronto Star, Canadians, I love that, Toronto Star. She made a second appearance on Capital Talk on the 19th of August of 2009. Her BBC blogging identity was being revealed in articles in December of 2009. Now, whoever did this and revealed her blogging activity is despicable, and I don't care if they were trying to make a name or money for themselves or if this was a news organization, but they put her in severe danger by doing this, and it was absolutely wrong by exposing her as the blogger. And then it goes on to say, she was recognized for many youth awards, and she was given awarded the National Peace Award for Youth in Pakistan, and that again brought her to the forefront, and she was hated by the Taliban for what she was doing for women's rights. Now, this is a little girl doing this. I got a lot of grown adults out there listening to me, including myself. What are we doing to cause change and to expose injustice in this world? What are we doing to bring to light the evil done in darkness by men and women? We need to step out and speak. And this little girl did. And she did this starting from the age of 7. And now she's around 14. And this is describing in that Wikipedia article her assassination attempt. As she became more recognized, the dangers facing her became more acute. Death threats against her were published in newspapers and slipped under her door. On Facebook, where she was an active user, she began to receive threats, and fake profiles were created under her name. When none of this worked, a Taliban spokesman said they were forced to act. A meeting held in the summer of 2012, Taliban leaders unanimously agreed to kill or murder her. And now this goes on to explain how they went about it. On October 9th of 2012, a Taliban gunman shot her as she rode home on a bus after taking an exam in Pakistan's Swat Valley. The masked gunman shouted, "Which one of you is Malala? Speak up, otherwise I will shoot all of you." And on her being identified, shot her. She was hit with one bullet, which went through her head and neck and ended up in her shoulder. Two other girls were also wounded in the shooting, Kanit Yhis and Shazia Ramzan. Both of those of whom were stable enough to speak to reporters and provide details of the attack. Now, there was a world outrage, absolute outrage about this that went out. And what I'm attempting today is just give the full story of Malala, not just the headline stories. I wanted to go in depth to share what this little girl has gone through and been through. And there was a criminal investigation ordered by the government because there was such a worldwide outcry concerning this problem or this issue of her attempted murder. And the day after the shooting, Pakistan's Interior Minister Rehman Malik stated that the Taliban gunman who shot her had been identified. Police named a 23-year-old Ata Ullah Khan, a graduate student in chemistry, as the gunman in the attack. And a lot of people today are really realizing that a lot of these radicalized Muslims and these people that are doing some of these most heinous crimes are professional people. They aren't necessarily, as we see in the Fort Hood shooting, he was a psychiatrist and a major in the military. We see, other people who committed, wrongful acts around the world that were Muslim, that were professionals. And here we see a chemistry graduate shooting a 14-year-old because her murder was ordered by a group he was part of called the Taliban. So the police also arrested 6 men for involvement in the attack, but they were later released for lack of evidence. And as of November the 7th of 2012, Mullah Fazullah, the cleric who ordered the attack on Malala, was confirmed to be hiding in eastern Afghanistan by U.S. sources there. So she has since then gone on to do much more political activism, which now brings me to her book that Malala wrote with the help of another person. And that book is called I Am Malala. And in this story, I Am Malala, she tells about her life and starts a story on the day that she was shot. But before I go into that, I just want to read you a little something that popped up on the news article my wife shared with me here this morning. It stated that Congress on 11/18, which was yesterday, debated virtual currency. The name of the currency is called Bitcoin, Bitcoin. Any of you wanting to look up any information on Bitcoin can do so by just going to Google and looking that up. See what it's all about. And it's being presented as something that will help the poor of the world and normalize financials, and everything will be secret, and we'll be able to give anonymously, and all these other things. Well, if you believe that, then I've got a bridge in Brooklyn that I'll sell you that I own. It's called Brooklyn Bridge, And obviously I don't own it, so that story isn't true either. So getting back to Malala's book, it recounts the harrowing, uplifting story of a young woman targeted by the Pakistani Taliban. So she was semi-famous for speaking about education in Pakistan, as we already have gone over what she did as a part of her her speaking out and being an activist for education of women. And so she spoke out, and after she was shot, there was a wail of lamentation across the earth because of the horrible act committed against this young girl. And it made national headline news everywhere. She met with the Queen of England, with the President of the United States. She has been on many shows. She was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. She didn't win, but she got more attention and more publicity than the group that did win. And I appreciate the group that did win, because the group that won is a group that is working towards the destruction of chemical weapons, and they have been for over 10 years. So I can understand they're winning that, and congratulations to them. But Malala was nominated for that. And also, I don't know if you know who Jon Stewart is of The Daily Show, but he interviewed Malala, and he offered to adopt her after his show, and that was a little bit of a point of news for her also, that Jon Stewart wanted to adopt her. And if anybody knows Jon Stewart, that's very much like him. He would do something like that in a drop of a hat. So she wrote this book. It's called I Am Malala, and it's about 352 pages. It's $26, and it's a memoir that she wrote with Christina Lamb, who was a journalist that helped her out with writing this book. And she opens the book with her story of her shooting near a military checkpoint on her way home from school. 2 classmates were wounded, but Malala was the true target, and the gunman nearly finished the job. And she was treated in Pakistan, and they had to remove part of her skull because her brain was swelling, and they then transferred her to Queen Elizabeth's Hospital in England, where she was treated there. And it was a long time before she went through rehabilitation, was able to speak again and talk and walk, and I believe God really blessed her and helped her to survive. And she was flown out of Pakistan, has not been since. And in the book she wrote, I believe firmly in my heart that I will return to the country from which she was torn, and that she loves her country, and she wouldn't wish anyone to be torn away from their country. So that's just an interesting little insight into what she says. I don't know if any of you have ever heard her speak publicly. She is very clear, very concise, and knows what she's talking about. This isn't a little stumbling, bumbling girl who is not knowledgeable on her topic. She's very knowledgeable and speaks very clearly. Okay, moving on down, let's do this article. You have to bear with me for just a second. I wanted to give a little of the history of Pakistan here in this story. It says, over its turbulent modern history, Pakistan has flirted with democracy and has been governed by military dictators. It has fought with neighboring India, allied with Afghanistan against the Russians, and struggled with population growth, illiteracy, and natural disasters. And I believe Pakistan is getting really close to a population of about almost 1 billion people in Pakistan. This is a huge country with many, many people. And India has over 1 billion people also, and China has, I think, over 2 billion people now. So you see a huge population density in that little area of Asia. I won't say little, I guess it's pretty big.